I guess this will be my last video for 2024. We're only a couple of days from New Year's Day. It's quite a nice day today. Over the last 2 days, in fact 3 days, we've had mist and fog, and you couldn't see any of that. In fact, I should have come out and videoed then, to be honest. It looked lovely. So yes, this will be my last 2024 recording, I do believe. And I have done one or two things. I've done what I said I shouldn't have done, start moving plants and doing a little bit of a chop back. And we'll get to that in a minute. So if you just hang on a few more minutes, be patient. I'll show you what I've done. But we can show you this one straight away as we're near it. This is Euphorbia epithymoides, a lovely, lovely cushion euphorbia. And in spring, early spring, it has lots and lots of lovely yellow flowers on it. And I've just moved it this morning. Just want to move it. It was in a position, which we'll show you now, where it was just causing problems for me. Because it's got to a size now where it's sprawling more than covering. It was there. And it used to cover that whole section round there, and it used to go up onto the box edging and cover it for the year, which I don't mind, but I quite like that box edging. So what I've done is I've put something that won't cause that problem. Let's show you what I've put there. This is an eryngium, and it's eryngium yuccifolium, this one particular one. I've got 3 or 4 types of eryngium in this garden now that I like. The green type, not the blue type. And these ones have little seed heads like that. It's a really nice one. It's new in, but it should do really well there. It'll get as much sun as it wants. Just got to let it settle in. Another reason for moving the euphorbia as well was I've got this little toad that I bought many years ago. In fact, let's get you a better view of that one. So it's actually made on the stone. In fact, it's carved out of the stone. And it gets lost during summer and you never see it again. So I thought by moving that, at least I get to see that in the summer as well. This is my Buxus sempervirens, the box edge, and this is what I do to it. I cut it like a pyramid, is the only way I can describe it. Let's try and get lower down so you can see. So I do this on most of my box edging around this garden. Just gives it a different look, and that's showing it quite well, because one side it's in the sun and the other side it's in shade. So that's looking nice. I was looking through the fog yesterday and the mist. It's more of a fog than a mist. And you wouldn't have seen any of this. The only things that you could see really were things like the euphorbias. That big euphorbia there, that's my own Malachi. That was standing out. And most of the evergreens that are in the garden were standing out, looking lovely. And the big grasses as well, actually. But everything else really melted into the ether. Look at that, ain't that nice? To say we're 2 days away from New Year, my garden's looking pretty okay. And I said not to cut back, but I've never listened to my own advice. Some things you'll get away with and some things you won't. We're expecting a cold spell on New Year's Day, can you believe it? That's about typical. So you've got to be careful what you do in your garden. You don't want to be taking out too much or cutting too much back at this time of year. I know people are doing that. I've seen them on social media doing that, but I don't. I tend to leave it. Now, admittedly, it is getting earlier. Since I started gardening, I'm now cutting back. I like to cut back at the end of January. It used to be the end of February. It used to be the end of March. It's just getting earlier and earlier. But that's fine with me. Things are starting to flower now. Already had some of the early flowers already actually gone through. Somebody told me yesterday that they've seen a daffodil, which isn't unusual at this time of the year, to be quite honest with you. You would expect to see things like that. I'm stood on the boardwalk at the moment, looking down. Get a good view from up here. So I said not to do anything in your garden, and as I said, didn't listen to my own advice. This is part of the long border. This is the south side of the long border. And it's dissected by the floating deck that you can probably just make out there. And the long border was really the first border that I put in as a proper border, as a big border. And it's always done well, but there are sections that need my attention from time to time. This wasn't looking great. I wasn't happy with it. We had the pampas grass that you can see in the background. Doot, 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 there. And it was here where you see the brown one. Well, it was actually to the right of that brown one, so it was about there. But it was coming over the box edge here, which I didn't mind, and I said on many occasions I don't mind that. But I felt if I was going to get a little bit of a better look, I better do something about it and move it. So I've moved it. I've split it in half. I've taken a couple of little splits off of it and moved that one there. So I was tempted to put in 2 cortaderia, but I only put the one in. It would look good actually. I did put the other piece in the garden, just sat it there, see what it looked like, and it looked good. But you need to give them room. But you can see from the half that I've actually kept there that that's taking all that space up. Now I have moved other bits and bobs. The brown little jobber you see there, the front one, that's a Malinia. That was further, in fact that was actually where the cortaderia is. Moved it from there. And then what else have we moved? So we've moved a euphorbia slightly and a persicaria. These 2 brown things here, that's what they are. Euphorbia at the back, persicaria here. And there's a little bit of space here really, should I choose to fill it. Now that Malinia will get 7 or 8 foot tall once it starts seeding, but obviously that's going to be towards the middle or back end of next year. But there'll be plenty of space around it. Now there's loads of things I could put in there. There's a geum here, and that's Geum Totally Tangerine, which is a long flowering one because it is sterile, and when they're sterile they do tend to flower forever, and that's what that one does. And then just in front of it there's that Ligusticium. But anyway, going back to the Geum, yeah, they flower for quite a long time, and I thought maybe I could put some more of those around the grass, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Now I've taken splits off that Geum at the back end of last year, so we've got 3 or 4 plants that I have access to now, so I could put them in a clump, which would be a lot nicer than putting a mixture of loads of different bits and bobs. Sometimes you can make it look too busy, and form and structure are more important than putting tons of different types of planting, in my opinion anyway. The grass is looking good still, is working well. I'll not be cutting that down at all until the end of January, at the very earliest, the end of January. I have to be careful how long I do leave it because grasses and every other plant seem to be getting away nowadays a lot earlier. I need to be thinking about cutting them before we get into too much growth. Obviously with the grass, that one there, obviously I can cut that right down into its leaf and its leaf will still come back. It won't affect it long term, but sometimes it pays to get it before it actually comes into fresh growth. But I fear that I probably won't do that. I probably won't find it before it actually starts. Let's have a look. Is there any? Yeah, some little bits of green in there now, not too bad. And what I'll do with that, I will take it down to about 6 inches. So if you're wondering how far down you go, 6 inches is good. You can actually clip grasses right down to the ground, to be quite honest with you, but don't do them at the wrong time of the year. Because we've got this bad weather coming, I don't want to wreck them. So yeah, that's the south side of the long border that I shouldn't have touched, but I did. You know I do that. I'm like that. And I think it's going to work better. I really do think it's going to work better. There might be changes I could make, but I'm not sure what yet. Just not sure what. So we'll leave it alone for now and see what happens. We've got geraniums we could put back in there. There's a geranium here. I can't really remember what that one is. But there's a geranium there that I could definitely split once spring kicks in and plonk it all over that area, to be quite honest with you. And it would it would be a nice filler plant. That Viburnum Davidi is doing really well now. I love it. It's covering some of the steps, which was the intention when I put it there. You can see. And it's looking nice. Very nice little shrub. Breaking up that wall. But I like to see walls, but sometimes you need to put something like a shrub against it just to, I don't know, just to make it look more interesting. And that does. Now Frankenbin has got to be moved this year. That's Frankenbin. He needs to be moved. He's got Molinia Pontdeuce, Le Pontdeuce in there. And I need to move it. It's only sat in there. The bin itself is only masking that. But it needs to come out. It needs to be moved. As does this one here. This needs to be moved. So we'll have a rethink as winter comes in properly. Because winter really will kick in now. And we'll see what we want to do. I expected that to fill up a bit more than it has done, but it's quite full. But I do need to get in there now and get those leaves out. I really do need to get in there. There is quite a lot. In fact, let's show you while I'm here what I shall do and how I'll do it. So just bear with me. So this is, that's a little fishing net we used to use when we were kids. And all I'll do is go in like that. Oh, can't get it. Oh, in fact, I don't know if this is going to be good enough. No, I think I'm going to have to get in by hand. But once we get most of the leaves out, you'll see that we can get them out. And all I'll do is actually tip them onto the garden. There's no point in putting them onto a compost heap, wasting my time there. I might as well just tip them on here. That's what I'm going to do. But for now, that job can wait. So this morning I decided I would also have a little go at the roses. So I've been clipping this one back. I'm often asked how to clip roses, and to be quite honest with you, you really need to get on the internet or in a book, because it is such a, it can be a complex thing. The old-fashioned ways of doing it were crazy. Cut here, clip there, do this, do that, do the other. Just get in there and cut it. I do, but in this case, this is a climbing rose, a very small one, called Gertrude Jekyll. I needed to make sure it had a nice shape to it, because it's got to cover this area, hasn't it? It's covering all this stuff. So I need to make sure that that was going to do its thing. So today I've gone in and I've clipped bits back, as you can see. I've tidied it up and made it ready. And I've done no more than that on the rose itself. Now I have several roses in this garden. The one that you can see climbing the pillar with the orange hips, I'm not touching that yet. I'm leaving those orange hips alone. They look really nice, so why destroy it? I talked about taking out the crossing bits in this silver birch, which I've now done. I've had a little mess about in there this morning, clipped a few bits back. I've not gone over the top. I've just, taken out what's obvious to me and a few that weren't so obvious to me. They've gone as well. I'm trying to find a bit here where I'm not getting blinded by the sun. It's so bright today. What a contrast from yesterday. Fog that you couldn't see, well, it was a real pea super, to today when you can't see because the sun's glaring in your eyes. Anyway, never mind. This is another evergreen, and I know I show euphorbias all the time. They're worth showing. You really must get wolfenii eyes. This particular one is Bob Brown, and as I said, they are starting to curl over. When you find a euphorbia that's doing that, that's the flower. Very early at the moment. They will come out. There won't be that long before they're showing the yellows of the flower, and then all the tall ones that you can see in there will have a flower on them. I can guarantee every single one of those. Whereas the stuff in the middle, they won't. That's next year's flowers, and they will grow up next year to the size of these. And what you do is you would remove every flower head. So that one there, if I can show you it, that one there, and the one next to it that's wobbling, you clip them back. You go straight down as far as you can. Make sure you're wearing gloves, because they will burn you. There's a white sap on there that is a skin irritant more than burn you. But if it's a hot sunny day and you're doing it and you get it on your skin, it can cause problems. So just try and make sure you wear some gloves. Obviously I don't when I'm doing it. Never listen to my own advice, but I've been doing it that many years now. I've learned how to not get burnt by it. Have we done anything down here? Yeah, we did the Cretaceous, the hawthorn. Might get a better view of it from here. Where is it? There it is. So I've been in there and I've taken some little bits and bobs off of that. The crossing ones that were obviously crossing. Now it's taken some time, this one. So it's taken time because it's a tree that was coming right over this pathway. And for 2 years, if not 2.5 years, I've had it tied up with some garden tie and brought those branches, those lower branches, these ones here, were leaning right out. So what I did was I tied them up. And anyone who's been watching my videos on a regular basis would have seen that. And I left them alone, as I said I would do. I left them to set, and finally they've set into a nice shape now. So I've took off the ties and it's looking good. It is looking good. So now I just hope it'll start moving on a bit quicker. And it should do. There's lots and lots of flowers going to be on this year. And it's a scarlet colour because it's called Pearl Scarlet. Can we see any more? Well, you can't miss them, to be honest. Every single little bud is going to be either a leaf or a flower. And in this case, they're going to be flowers. And then the leaves will come after that. And it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful tree. Small tree. People don't think of having hawthorns as trees. Even the ordinary hedging hawthorn, which is called Cretaceous monigina, is a good selection if you want a small tree. Good for the wildlife as well. Very good for wildlife, actually. And very good if you want to protect your property. Stop the thieves coming in, because it's very thorny indeed. But this is a particularly nice variety that I like. I like it here. It's planted where it's planted because from up in the house, when we sit down, especially at night, you can actually look up and see in the room from the roadside. So what I've done is I've planted that in an area where when it gets a bit more mature in summer, it will disguise us. It'll give us a little bit of privacy. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And it's going to look lovely, but it's going to take some time. We've still got a long time for it to actually do that. But until it does it, we'll just sit with it and enjoy it as it is. But believe me, the change that'll come about on that in the next 2 or 3 months will be quite a transformation once the leaves come in. And I will have to keep coming back to it, as I do with all my trees, and I will have to keep checking it over. Trees don't get into a beautiful shape because they've done it on their own. 9 times out of 10, either the nurseryman started it for you and made them a good shape, or you've had to get in there and intervene and take out bits and bobs, just get rid of them. But I like it to be a big structure at the top, so it'll be more of a rounded shape on top. But I've got a nice structure there, and there's some good strong branches. Now I don't think we've been up here for a while. Can you hear them people over there? They're very noisy, aren't they? Very noisy. They don't know I'm behind here. They think it's just a hedge with a bit of grass behind it. I think they'd have a shock if they came over. Now that bamboo, I keep looking at this bamboo. It's called Winter Black, Variegated nitida, Winter Black, and it's never done very well really there. It's been terrible. If you're looking for something very small, then obviously I can recommend that one to you, because it hadn't really done out. It's grown, definitely. I mean, there was only about 6 or 7 little canes coming up when I originally bought it. But at the moment, forgive me if I'm walking around, I'm trying to get you a better view of it, just to prove to you that these things are fine. Look, you see, clump forming. Very nice clump former. And it doesn't seem to want to get going, and I think I need to feed it. I definitely need to feed that one and get it going better, because I want it to kind of disguise that corner, because it's a bit of a messy corner, because I've got the fence I put up, which is corrugated, and then what I call the Anderson Arbour shelter seat to the left of it. I want that kind of disguised from this side. You'll always be able to see it to some degree through the bamboo itself, but I want to disguise it a little bit as well. But it's all time, so I expected that to get going a bit quicker than it is. It's probably the first bamboo I put in as well. I remember years ago putting that in, 4.5 years ago, and it seemed so far away from the house. And a little spindly little thing, really. Now you can't see it because it's behind the shack. Maybe that's not helping, but I don't think that will be the reason. I think more likely is the fact that I've got this lovely tree that I still don't know the name of. Look at that. What's that? 30 foot. Lovely. I love it. Love that tree. And that's actually not far away from it. So that will be having an impact, although it doesn't seem to be affecting this viburnum. This is Viburnum ritidiphyllum. I love this viburnum. It's lovely. Is it flowering yet? No. Well, I know it won't be flowering yet, but it'll be starting to form flower buds at some point. No, I can't see any yet. It's just the new leaf tips. Now this plant, because it's evergreen, will get to a stage in about January, February, March time, I think it'll be, and suddenly you'll start finding yellowing leaves, and it will naturally drop the leaf away itself before it carries on regrowth. But the leaves are lovely. Look how shiny they are. It's the beauty of this. It makes quite a big shrub as well. If you're looking for something quite big, it would be a good choice, but you would have to intervene and you would have to thicken it up yourselves. I'm rubbish at camera work, aren't I? Look at me. I'm all over the place. Anyway, you'd have to intervene. So I have been intervening here. And if you wanted it to become more of a shrubby shrub, then you would really, really need to get in and start cutting those things off and cutting the branches off and making it thicken up yourself. So each one of those little branches that are coming out left and right would need some sort of work on them. And you must keep doing it. Keep going back, keep checking it every year. Go back and check it. Sometimes 2 or 3 times in the year you need to check that. I love it. I have probably 3 other plants of that. 1 other plant down the garden that I've actually put in, and then this one, and 1 in a pot. I keep them as spares just in case I want to put another one in, because I like them that much. They remind me of Areobotra japonica because it's a very similar leaf, but this one is a bit slimmer, the leaf itself. But it produces a lovely flower, and they're not very scented. In fact, I don't think they're scented at all. But that doesn't matter, because the beauty of that shrub is it's beautiful. I know my kind of beauty and yours are 2 different things. Now, the idea is, let's show you. So this is the path that runs behind the shack, as you can see. And the idea is that it gets to about 10 foot, but I want to create an almost tunnel effect through it. So we'll walk through it, and then some of these branches will be encouraged to go towards the shack and give me that look. I look forward to that. But you've just got to wait. I mean, I'm looking at it now, it's over 6 foot. When I put that in, it was about 1.5 foot. And you forget, when I go back on my videos, I often see shrubs like this or other things and think, wow, it was a little when I put it in. And you just forget. You forget how small they really were and what a difference. Doing these videos, I guess, is kind of a diary for me. I know I call it Up at Grassy Bottom, but it's more of a diary. Now, there's a Taxus here. This is Taxus Summer Gold. And I put it back into the pot at the end of summer. And I'm kicking myself, actually, because I chopped this main branch off. I had to at the time because it was going where I didn't want it. But to be quite honest, the place I put it wasn't suiting it. So I've taken it out. I've since come across a picture on the internet of this very plant. Not this very plant, it's another plant. But of this plant, of this variety, and they've done a cloud pruning on it, and it looked really interesting. And I'm going to do that with this. So over time, over the next few years, we'll show you, God willing, how we're going to do that. And we're going to make cloud formations on the ends and down in there, like that section there would make a nice one. And we'll do that with that. It's not a very tall plant, it's more of a sprawling plant. And it probably only gets to 3 or 4 foot, I think. I do believe, if memory serves me right. But I will turn it into a cloud prune one. Gonna look good, that. It goes more goldy colour, or yellow really, gold. I mean, they do exaggerate these colours. It's more of a yellow. Definitely not a gold, but it's called Summer Gold. Now, right next to it, we've got a Viburnum tinus. This one's called Eve Price, one of my favourite. I say this about every viburnum, don't I? That's my favourite. But Viburnum tinus was one of the first viburnums I ever bought. And Eve Price was the variety I bought because I liked it so much. It kind of has whitey red flowers. Now you can see they're just starting to form now. But can you also see all that nibblings? And that's down to a beetle that affects it. But when you find them, they're like little slugs, little tiny little sluggy things that you'll find. And the only thing I can tell you is that every spring, early spring I'm talking, is that you go in and I'm afraid you're going to have to reach for the bug killer and kill those off. And eventually you will win out and get rid of all that. Look at that, it's terrible, isn't it? But you will win it. I've done it before. I've created hedges with this. But you've got to get in and intervene and get rid of it. And it has to be done in spring. And just keep checking for them. And eventually the plant will win out. And it'll get to a stage where they have no effect on it whatsoever. But until then, you do have to intervene. Make no bones about that. Now, one thing I'll say about this particular viburnum is it makes a lovely hedge. It really does. I've planted a hedge like this, which is something like 15, 20 foot long in a previous garden. It wasn't my garden, it was a garden I used to work in, and I created them a hedge with viburnum tinus Eve Price, and it was beautiful now. But it took some doing. So there you go. Now next to it, and I don't often bring attention to this, this is one of the hollies. It was always here. But it was quite big and it had two main stems running up. Well, you can see it's almost trying to do it again on top. And these stems were actually, they were interfering with the look. Let's show you. They were interfering with the look of the tree behind them. And they had the same kind of look and it spoiled it. So I thought, well, what shall I do? So I thought, yeah, let's chop the two main stems off, which I've done now. And let's form it into more of a shrub. Now, should I wish, I could let that go again and it would send up those same two main leaders and they'd be up again, but I don't want to. I'm going to try and keep it as kind of a shrubby look. But I fear that it may beat me because we forget about these things. And over time, we forget what we intended to do with it and it ends up turning into something we didn't expect. So I don't know what the variety is. I haven't got a clue. I always put it down to being Golden Queen, which is a male form. But I don't know. I really don't know because of the colouring. What's it looking like there? It's a little bit more yellow than the one you're seeing. So this one here that I'm showing you is a little bit more yellow than what you're seeing through that camera. But it's a beautiful plant. All hollies are nice. I love them. Absolutely love them. Almost as much as I love ivy. Beautiful. Very spiky, so be careful where you put them. This was already here. I didn't plant it. But I love it. Look at that. It's beautiful. Like I've said in previous videos, look. Take a look at what you're planting. Take a look at what you've got before you start destroying. And you may discover a different kind of beauty. And that really is beautiful. Anyway, enough waffling about that. Yeah, so while we're here, we'll show you this one. This was to create a blocker for the nook itself. And the problem with this particular plant, which is Elaeagnus pungens maculata, now luckily for you lot, I won't have to put this one up on screen because I've still got the label. So we'll show you it. There it is. That's what it is if you want it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful shrub. Now let's throw the label back down the bottom. Shouldn't blow away from here because it's very well protected. Now what you probably don't realise with these types of plants is that some of them, and I think this particular one does it. Let me check. I'm waffling a bit at the minute, but let me just check because I might be telling you a lie here. Is this one of them? Yes, it is. Now, what people don't realise, if I can find it, see that there? That's a thorn. They have very, very thorny stems, which is good if you're trying to keep people out of your garden. Not very good when you're pruning because you forget. It's so beautiful, you forget about it. But it's beautiful. One of its failings, in fact, here we go. Here's a good example of it. Isn't it good? So here we go, a little bit of a lesson for you. It's terrible for reversion. Now, reversion is when those leaves, or the branch itself carries on growing and it produces a green leaf on the very same stem. And there you go. That's what it's doing there. Now, if you leave that, that will take over. You can see there's lots of it in this one. So what I shall do, I won't do it now, what I shall do is I will come back in and I will cut it back to the variegation again. And I mean right back. I won't take it to the first variegated bit. I'll take it right back in. Get rid of that. Don't leave it. If you do, it will take over. Believe me, that will take over. And it'll look ridiculous. And then if you left it and continually left it, some of it would be slightly variegated, but the most of it would just be back to the standard type. So it's terrible for that, but don't let that put you off getting it, because it is a beautiful shrub. I love it. Got quite a few of that type of looking shrub here, haven't I? Got that one that's that colour, and then we've got the holly that's that colour. And then we've got that berberis behind it, which goes a yellow colour the same. But anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is. This is a nice tree, and don't bring it to your attention much because it's quite new. Kathy found it again for me up in the lake, well, at the edge of the Lake District, to be quite honest with you. And it's at a place called Larch Cottage Nurseries. Fantastic, fantastic nursery. If you ever get up there, look for a place called Melkingthorpe, and they have some absolutely wonderful plants. Going back to this is a sorbus called Leonard Messel, a very small growing one, but the leaves are massive when they actually come out. Let's have a look at the buds. There's the buds, and the leaves will be a typical type of a sorbus, but a beautiful one. And it's a lovely small growing tree. It's not small over time. I think it gets quite tall over time, but it's very slow, so it takes forever. But it's a beauty, absolutely beauty. I had it in 2 previous gardens, and the last garden I had it in, I left it. I was going to dig it up, but I never did. I thought, I can't take everything, so I left it and regretted it ever since. So we found that up in the Lake District. What a lucky find. Oh, bamboo's looking great, isn't it? That's another Variegated type called Obelisk. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Now, what else don't I mention to you? I don't mention all the plants in this garden. I tend to go through the same ones because they're the ones that are looking good when I'm coming through, mainly. Some of them are looking terrible. Now, this is a verbena called Bampton. Look at that lovely colour. And it is clothed, or was clothed, in lovely purple flowers, and I mean lots of them. You can see from the seed heads there, it was absolutely covered in those. But the purple stem, that's the best I've ever seen this one, because it is 2 years old, coming up to 3 years old now, so it's looking really good, and it does start to produce that type of a branch. As I was saying, I don't show you all the plants in this garden, because some of them are just too small to have any sort of impact with you, so I don't show everything. But there are lots and lots of flowers in this garden. Let's just show you what the Melinia should be looking like at this time of year. There's your Melinia, or my Melinia, and that's what Melinia is. Once you've cut them down, the Arundinacea types, once they've all fallen apart, that's what they look like at this time of year. And it's a bit early to take any splits, although I do, but take them a little bit later and you'll be really successful. Just get 2 forks back to back and you'll split that and turn in another new plant, which would be beautiful. Easy to do, saves you a fortune. That's looking good in here. Well, overall it's looking nicely. I mean, when that sun hits that at the side there, that is just so beautiful. So beautiful, that euphorbia. And then we've got a miscanthus to the left of it, and we've got some pines. I'm loving my pines. I've been looking for some more pines just recently because I like pines. They've got a lot to offer the garden, and they're evergreen. So let's get a good shot for you. That's there. A nice shot. So you've got Pinus mugo type there, and then this is a, where's my finger? I still haven't made that pointer. So that's Pinus nigra. That's one called Green Tower. And I do like my pines. The smaller ones, admittedly. They're looking nice. And don't forget box edging, always looks good. Look, you can see I've been clipping that one as well. That's lovely. I love doing that shape to them. And that's wacky, isn't it? Snaking all over the place. It's beautiful, I love it. Lots growing at the minute. Quite deceiving how steep this is. I always say that, but it's quite deceiving. I'm stood looking over that pergola, that cloister pergola there, the wooden structure you're looking at, and my head as I stand here is above that. That drops down, what, 3 or 4 foot? And don't forget the pergola is up 6 6.5, 7 foot. Quite deceiving. Begonias, don't show begonias enough, but they're more of a winter plant. And I collect them. Don't know why I collect them. Just do. Just like them. This one is a repeat flower. I can't remember its name, but it's a repeat flower. It's very nice. Boring to most people, that's just a leaf, innit? Boring. But when you're a sad geek like me, you tend to get into collections and start collecting different plants. But be careful, because it's addictive, innit? Gardening. Very addictive. And making collections is very addictive. Just be careful. I'm not stopping you doing it. I do it all the time. I'm always getting different collections going, but it can be very expensive. And you'll get a collection of so many plants, and then you'll think, yeah, I like them. And then you'll think, oh, maybe I need to start another collection of something else. And you start collecting again. And before you know it, you haven't got no space in your garden. But it's fun. It's fun. Gardening's fun. Not boring at all. It's only as boring as you want to make it. What should we do? Let's step up on here now. This is the boardwalk and the decking that goes with it. And that's the shack, as you can see, because it says the shack. And this was one of the first major structures I actually put up. And I love it. I love looking at this because it sits in the garden and it's settled in beautifully because of what I've planted around it. Everything that's planted around it is intentional to make it look good. And it does look good. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. We don't talk enough about the shack because it's a building and we're all gardeners, aren't we? But you really need to get some structure into your garden because it makes the garden more interesting. The owl up there on its post makes the garden more interesting. Oops, wrong way. There you go. So, you know, you'll walk around the garden and you'll think, oh, what's that? And it's an owl stood on the post looking at you. Beautiful. But it makes the garden look nice. And when you start working your way around the garden, you come to structures and it looks good again. Without these structures, it's going to look boring. So when you're doing your design work, and we can all design a garden, you don't have to be paid to do it. You don't have to be a professional. Anyone can design their own garden. Just include structures, man-made features, anything that looks good. Even as simple as the oak barrel here is a man-made feature. Just put it in there. Offers interest. Looks good next to the bamboo. Beautiful. I've got too many features in here, to be quite honest with you. I'm like that. I put loads in. So, I think I've gone on long enough now. I think I've talked enough. So that'll be the last video I'm likely to do this year. We'll do some more next year, which is only 3 days away. But for all those that have followed me, thank you very much. And if you can tell your friends about it, I've noticed that my number of watchers has gone down. I don't know whether I'm boring you all or boring people or not interested enough, but the numbers have gone down. And although I don't do it for that, it's nice to see if people are actually engaging with me. And it's nice to get your comments. It's nice to talk to you. And I don't mind long questions or telling me about your own garden. It's lovely. I love reading it. And I'm always happy to answer when I see them. Because YouTube has a funny way of hiding them from me. And sometimes I don't see your questions for over a week. I don't know why. But that's the end of 2024. And it's been great showing you all round. And like I say, I think it's more of a diary I do nowadays, showing you what I'm up to and showing you the progress in the garden, which is always nice. And it's lovely, as I said, to have that interaction with you all. Just want to show you what you're capable of and what's possible, more than what you're capable of. What's possible. It's not hard to do, easy to do. Start with a little bit of a border and then work your way up from there. But as I said earlier, try and include a man-made feature. I think I've had quite a successful year this year. We've had some failures and some successes. And this being one of the successes, and that's why I've brought you down here, because I wanted to end it on here for 2024. We'll soon be in 2025, and what has that year got to hold for us, I'm sure. I've got a few new ideas for next year. Not going to tell you about them just yet. We're going to see if they actually come to fruition, what I've got in my head. There'll be changes made in some of the areas, some plants will be moved. Have we got space for more? Probably not. Who knows? I do try and put as much in as I can. So once again, thank you for joining me. It's been brilliant. It's been great doing the videos for you, and I hope you've learned something, and I hope you've enjoyed me waffling, because I do waffle on at times, I know that, but I enjoy talking about it and telling you about it, and I hope you pick some up over the last few years. So I shall talk to you in the new year. Ta-da!